I want to go through some of the experiences I've had as a psychic and a medium, and kind of relate how that they have changed me tremendously, and we go from there. Uh, one of the reasons that many philosophers and prophets and many psychics and mediums, they have been killed throughout history for various accusations, or for many other reasons, is because once you have a spiritual experience, it changes you deeply, and your outlook on life, on everything changes drastically, and you are less inclined to cater to many political systems, many philosophies, many forms of government, and this makes not only people around you very uncomfortable and deeply troubled, makes the government and many rulers very edgy and very troubled, because once you acquire these types of knowledge, it's kind of contagious, and other individuals around you, or other scientists, other psychics, other whoever, they also gravitate towards these ideas, and pretty soon you have big problem in your hand. The the governance of a given population, or a locality, sometimes depends to some extent on ignorance and just going along with the crowd. But you can't do that. As soon as there is some level of growth in scientific or spiritual or material, there is, in you or in your community, as soon as you really figure things out, you become an outcast, and you are either a troublemaker or a black sheep of some sort or another. I have seen this in my personal life, and also if you look at my other videos, almost every philosopher or every psychic or every person I've talked to or used their or reference them, they've been killed. Like, Giordano Bruno was killed, Joan of Arc was killed, Jesus was crucified. These people were total outcasts, and before I even get into my own experience and why it makes you just kind of give up a lot of things and get back to basics, is I want to put my spiritual experiences and my psychic experiences as a form in juxtaposition to scientific discoveries, because looking at scientific discoveries is a lot easier to see the huge impacts that they have made, and that you shouldn't ignore them or think, hey, this is trivial. They change people and they change civilizations, and the same goes with psychic and spiritual or mediumistic experiences. They totally change you, and they are very contagious. The people around you just will gravitate toward them, and they will pursue it, because we as human beings, we all have this desire to make sense of the world, make sense of ourselves, make sense of why we are here. We all crave for that communion with the higher power, whatever that higher power might mean to you. uh, we are all in one form or another after these ideas. Um, and somebody made a made a joke that, you know, women and men, they can't be really friends because there is too much attraction, and in one form or another it will end up either rejecting the other person or you know, falling for them. So the same goes with these experiences. Well, you know, I really am interested in astronomy, and I want to mention an astronomical discovery that really changed the world. That was the discovery uh, by Hubble, astronomer Hubble, in the 20th century, that the universe is expanding. And the way he found out was that he was looking at different stars and measuring the red shift of the star. So if the star is moving and is moving towards us, it has a blue shift, and if it's moving away, it will have a red shift. So when he cataloged a lot of stars, he found out that many of them had a red shift, some very large red shifts, and means the star is moving away at high speed from us, the observer. And so he kind of came to the conclusion that the universe must be expanding, because there's all these stars except the local group that some stars are coming towards us. Everything else is moving away. So having discovered that, he reasoned that, well, if they are all moving away, that means that at some point in the past, like millions of years ago, they probably were a lot closer to each other, or if you extrapolate long enough, then they were at a point, at some hypothetical point, was the origin of the universe. So here comes the idea for the Big Bang theory, and then the other scientists, they took that idea and ran with it, and then it became the basis for the modern cosmology. Now a lot of cosmologists they have modeled the universe starting from singularity, and they have done such good models that they can go to a fraction of a second, and you know, kind of model the inflationary expanding universe. But and this also led to many other theories regarding the multiverse, and you know, hyper inflation of the early universe. And this is a huge field now. It has had a lot of consequences. Okay, so this is a scientific theory that really impacted the world, and what I would like to point out is that a lot of the ills that the world is suffering from is this misguided desire to have a spiritual experiences, find communion with the God or higher self, and then falling back into these institutions that have tried to answer this. One would be to Wahhabis or misguided Islam, or to Zionists and misguided Judaism, or I hesitate to attack Christianity because it's such a spiritual religion, but you know, there is a lot of practices the Catholic Church does that are really questionable. Or we could look at it politically, fall back into our Washington D.C. gang of arsonists and try to make an empire and see greatness in that. I mean, people fall for these things is because they themselves haven't had a spiritual or psychic experience. When you have on your own, without any help from any of these guys, the secondary agents or the middle salesman, without them, you have your own psychic or spiritual experience, your own communion with God, or your own connection. This really will impact you because, first of all, you realize that, hey, I don't need them. Okay. Second, that they are very destructive, and since they are not of any use or value to me, then the only thing I wish for them is that they'll disappear. That's the only thing I can think about it. And also, it will impact all of the people around you because once you realize it and express it, then they will it's like a wake-up call. And if you look at the history of philosophers or priests or saints or whoever that had these ideas, you find out that this is the origin of them getting popped. There's no other explanation. Is that it makes the established order very shaky, very questionable, and they don't want that. And also, you just know it that you don't need any of these things, any of these institutions, and you'll stop spending mental energy or money or lives on perpetuating them, and also you will not feel threatened that these institutions are falling apart, which is the most likely outcome in our century. These institutions, a lot of them are going to go away and they'll never come back. Well, finally, I would like to relate to you my spiritual experiences, which is more a communion with God or having grace. And I've had many such experiences. One happened when I was actually I was having a lot of tough times at the time, and it wasn't the very best of times for me. But I meditated, and I was going on a bus of all places. This is like a public bus, all right? And it was kind of a long trip, and I was kind of like dozing out. I was just falling asleep. It was like between sleep and being wakefulness. I was kind of returning to myself. I was just in my own zone, all right? So for a few minutes, I just kind of was like passing out, and it was like I went into my higher realm. Okay, I just totally lost a sense of myself. But the bus was traveling on a route. There was a lot of stops, and suddenly the bus driver he just slammed on the bus. Okay, so I was just kind of really jerked out. So it was like falling from heaven. Like, you know how you come down on the stages, but when it happened, it was like flashes of light. It was like incredible amount of colors and lights. It was like fireworks, and then I fell lower realms, and I saw a likeness of myself, which was like millions of times more beautiful and enlightened than I am. And then I fell down more and more. Even when it was fading away, there were all these flashes of blue, red. It was just beautiful. It was just the whole universe was me. There was nothing else, and I was just, it was there. Okay, this is like coming down from a very high place, but uh, afterwards, after I had this experience, which I've had many times, but after I had this experience, I asked myself, you know, is there any of these institutions or any of these things that I do that, or I spend money on, or I acquire, or do this and that could command God or whoever gave me this experience to have it again, or like have it on command? You follow what I'm saying? Would any of them be able to do it? And the answer is always no. So, since the answer is no, okay, this is a philosophical discovery, is that you cannot receive grace or salvation by doing any of these philosophical systems or any of these practices or any of these institutions and It's like something that's God given. All right, you just serendipitously fall into it. All right, it's not something that you can work your way into it. And I think this is a beautiful discovery, and if other people that see this video kind of realize that, it will prevent a lot of wasted lives wasted on pursuits that have no fruits. Well, thank you very much, and we'll go over some of other psychic experiences I've had, and have a nice one.